Hello, thank you so much. I'm totally going to be cliche and say I'm so excited that you're here with me live, those of you that are joining me in the Zoom room. So thank you for being here, sharing your time. And if you did not get to join us live and you're watching the video on replay, that's okay. I'm glad that you're here too. And I hope that you get value and meaning out of it to be able to implement to your lessons and presentations. And I promise that it's going to be valuable for those of you who are here with me live too. So now for those of you that love a plan, let me share with you what today's plan is. And today's message is sponsored by the letter M, because I have 4 M's that would be the 4 aspects of this whole thing, but we don't have time to cover all 4, but I want to just let you know what it is. The first one is message. This is the first M, okay? And this is our content. This is the what part, the what we teach, the lessons, all of the content, however you do it, your outlines, your notes, your slide decks, the message itself. Then number 2 is mouth. And what I mean by mouth is the voice. And there's so many different aspects to it. And I teach public speaking at a university. So when we talk about voice, it really is both emotional in terms of the value of our voice, being able to find our voice and feeling comfortable and confident sharing it. But it's also about vocal variety and the energy, the enthusiasm with which we put that voice out there into the world so that it is not coming across as flat and monotone that people will tune us out. So mouth is that part, but it's not just about our voice as the educator. It's also about the voices of our students. So everybody's mouth for that second M. Number 3 is movement. And when I talk about movement, I am referring to body language. And our voice and our body language, our gesturing, all of that adds a lot of communication to our teaching, to our presenting, to our speaking that we are sometimes not even conscious of. So I'm going to assume that for today, you're clear on the content that you want to teach. Even if it's not fully where you are, you feel that you are engaging with your voice and that you're offering opportunities for students to share their voice, and that you're aware that our body also communicates and our body also speaks. Again, even if you're not totally where you want to be, I want to lay down these 3 M's that we're not going to get a chance to cover today because of time. But I do want to fully focus on number 4, and number 4 is about memorability. Memorability. And to me, sometimes this stuff feels like magic, so I just call it memorability magic, even though really there's a lot of science behind it, which is what we're going to focus our time and energy on today. Are you ready? I'm ready. Yes, and thank you. I appreciate your comments and participation in the chat as well. So let's pop right into this concept here of memorability magic. So, truly, is it magical? No, I mean, there is an art to it, of course, but there's also a lot of science that goes into it. And my favorite scientist on this topic is Dr. Carmen Simon. Totally recommend that you check her out. Her work is fantastic. As a neuroscientist, studying about the brain, behavior, how she has several books. I know of at least 2, but there could be more out there, where she's talking about how to create more engaging content, whether it's a class or a presentation. But certainly for us as educators, 100% this content applies, and it is so good. The first concept from her is, well, before I tell you, let me ask you a question. What percentage of our content do people on average remember? So even today, right now, what percentage of the content that I'm going to share are you likely to remember? What percentage of content will your own students, your own audience remember of whatever you share? Is it 10%, 20%, 30%, or 40%? What are your guesses? Let me know in the chat. I see those answers coming through already. Okay. Yes. Okay, okay. Yes. Now, let me tell you, many of you are correct. The correct answer is 10%. So, what does this mean? This means we have to know that 90% of our stuff is going to go in one ear and out the other, which is kind of depressing. At least I feel like it's depressing. But what does it also mean? It means we really need to pay attention to this 10%. And are we helping our people remember the right 10%? Or are we just letting it be whatever they're going to remember? So it's only going to be 10%, right? We can't really do anything about that. But we can control identifying that 10% message. So takeaway number one is I want you to identify your 10% message. I did it even for today. I know what 10% I want to stick in your mind. I don't control if it does or it doesn't, but I can highlight it, draw your attention to it to make it most likely that that is what you'll remember. So concept number one, takeaway for this on the science of memorability. People only remember about 10%, and we need to be clear on our 10% message. It's kind of like that Sharpie commercial where it's like a big long message and the Sharpie just comes in and writes the whole thing in like one or two words. It's like that. So we need that short, abridged version, the punchy 10% message. The next concept that we have to understand as people is that something happens to us called habituation. We get used to, we become accustomed to stimulus in our environment very quickly, even to cool new stuff that at first we were very interested by. I mean, and you know this, you understand this conceptually yourself. You know that if we're all hanging out in a cafe right now, we tune out the sounds of the coffee and the blenders and the people and the doors, and we do our work or we focus or we have a conversation. We can tune out lots of things, right? It's necessary for us to evolve as people where we needed to be able to habituate or get used to, accustomed to these different stimulus. So what's the issue here? Well, it does depend on certain things. Like we will very easily habituate to my air conditioning fan blowing right now. My mind doesn't even really register it. But if an alarm were to go off on my phone right now, that I am not habituated to, right? So there's different, please do study her work to go dive deeper into this. But for now, for today's lessons, just making sure that this is sticking with you, that our students habituate to our content very easily. And really, we can look at these concepts that we see now and take some cues from the world of entertainment. How often are there cuts in videos, in shows? I mean, when I look back at the TV shows that I watched as a kid, they had a resolution at the end. Nowadays, they end on a cliffhanger so that you can keep watching, keep watching. I'm not suggesting that you're continuously doing cliffhangers in your courses so that your students are wanting to binge watch, but I think that we need to start to build that sense of stimulus and curiosity and intrigue and make these concepts more engaging for our students, which is what we're going to talk about today with a lot of active learning. So when it comes to these concepts, right now we know that habituation is a real thing. What is it that we can do about this? Well, we need to provide some interruptions. Now, interruptions is such a negative word, but I like to call them pleasant interruptions, right? Pleasant. You have to forgive me because my handwriting is legit the worst. Just keeps getting worse. A pleasant interruption, a welcome interruption, a change, right? So hopefully you've seen changes in things today with different visuals, different audio, different, even writing on the screen could be something new. Now, if I wrote on the screen every single time we got together during the semester, you would become habituated to it fairly quickly. So the idea is that we need to switch it up. One fun way that I really like to switch it up and offer some motivation and excitement for a job well done is doing things on screen, such as offering some confetti and music to congratulate. when I want to offer them some choices, this or that, using graphics by Lucy at CNVS, right? She's got great stuff and some free stuff I want to recommend to you guys. But having visually pop up, that's going to be exciting. Switching it up a bit. This is a one that I got from my friend Matt Haas. So I love that one. I think it's so funny because I actually have a Mac computer. I don't even have a Windows computer, but I totally remember that. So certain things, even being able to use little animations, little graphics, it doesn't have to be something overly complicated, but you can, share your 10% message on something like this that offers something different, a pleasant pattern interruption, right? What are some of the other ways that you guys use tools, Rich? That's great. I mean, it's like a simulation, but way better. Absolutely. What tool are you using for that? Gotcha. Okay. And for any of you guys that have no idea what a Rodecaster Duo is, so you know how people have microphones, people have sound systems. It's basically a device that sits on a desk and you connect your microphone to it and it routes to your computer. So it's an audio mixer and you can give it different input sources. So in this case, the cell phone becomes the input source and then people can hear it. So that's actually a really great way to use it for training purposes. A lot of us call customer service like, this call is being recorded for training purposes. That sounds like one of these situations, right? So, and the great thing is everybody gets to learn collectively from it too. So that's a great tool to use, Rich. And then Jane, I know you put in the chat, switching up the format. And that's really the key here, is switching up the format from teaching materials to setups, to electronic, to graphics, to handouts. Absolutely. Also, switching the teaching setup. Yes. Switching gears, right? So different things. Absolutely. Totally agree with you guys. So you're familiar with this. And thank you, Saeed, for linking the visual image of what the Rodecaster looks like. And there are other brands that do this, and there are simple ones, and there are complicated ones. So lots of different levels. It's a whole big, exciting place to get into when it comes to audio. But those are, and even they can even do like fun sound effects. So that's another tool that I like to use too is sound effects. This is one of my favorite little sound effects. But I use a program called Ecamm. It's similar to OBS in what it does, but it is for Mac only. So I know that does not work for everybody. But, lots of different tools and things that we can use to keep the attention or just to show this other point. So we talked from Dr. Carmen Simon's work. We were talking about, actually, let me change that color. We talked about the 10%, right? So getting clear on our 10% message. Then we talked about habituation. And in that, we understand we need to switch it up, right? Just like Jane said, the key concept here is we have to switch it up. The other thing with habituation that I want to share with you is that we have to understand, and I really think we can take cues from video games here, is that we love rewards. And it doesn't matter if your students are 7 or your team members are 77 or in between. Everybody wants to do things that have a reward, right? And the word reward is not winning always. It's not money. It's not a prize, but it is typically something emotional that makes us feel good. So I would love a platform where I can offer badges and levels and achievements in my classroom, right? And really take it like video games do, offering levels. So we have to think about rewards. And I want to ask you guys an honest question for you to reflect on. When you go back and you look at your content, are you offering your participants, your students, rewards? Right? A genuine question for you to think on. And you don't have to answer this out loud. It's a rhetorical question, but I want you to think about, as I look at my lessons, as I look at my outline and my notes, where are the rewards for my participants? And rewards come in several different ways. Highlighting that book, I have it here somewhere. I should have grabbed it ahead of time, but Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You know, the band that Beyonce was in before, Say My Name, Destiny's Child. People love to hear their names. So a very simple, no tech way. And in virtual world, it's so easy because I can see Ashley's name. I can see Matthias's name. I can see David's name. So for us, it's so simple, right? We have the means to do it. Saying people's names is one of the best rewards that we can give others because it lets them know we see them, we hear them, we want to engage, we want to communicate. Asking people questions is another way to offer a reward, but not so much that it's going to freak people out. So in my classes, there is a lot of participation, and I always let people know this. I'm going to ask for your input randomly at many different times throughout the semester. But I'm not doing that because I want to put you on the spot. I want to do that because I don't want it to always be the same few people that answer the question, because that also becomes habituation. Students get used to, we know that these 3 or 4 people are always going to answer. So I offer that to them to say, I want all voices to be heard. So when we ask questions, it will usually be fairly random, but you can always say, can you come back to me? I need a little more time to think about that. Or I'm not sure. Or if today is just not a great day for you in general, they can let me know that in advance. So we just have to know, sometimes we have to have that emotional sensitivity, but in general, using people's names and calling on them to help them feel heard and seen is a really valuable reward. And that doesn't cost us anything. I do also use prizes and things that I like to pop in. So that is also a way that we can help reward people. Sometimes we raffle off a prize or have a gift, or I'll use Wheel of Names to offer that. So with habituation, right? Switching it up, offering it rewards. So then ultimately, how do people remember and retain the content? Well, the other part of it is that we have to repeat it. And in my public speaking courses, I tell my students that repetition is a very underestimated tool. We sometimes think that if we repeat ourselves, like we're going to come across as dull, but that's totally not the case. We all need repetition. I can't tell you how many times I've heard something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. I learned that 20 years ago at such and such a place. So the repetition part is really, really important too. And, Mark, you're highlighting that framework where we preview the message, tell them the message, and then summarize the message. And especially in the learning environment, I agree. Now, I think that there are ways to switch it up such that it's not like, okay, I know exactly what's about to happen, because then that becomes habituation as well. But knowing your 10% message, knowing people get used to stuff pretty quickly, and that we need to switch it up with pleasant interruptions, offer up some rewards, and that we have to use repetition is really key. Now, I love the way the conversation turned when Saeed said, then ask them what you told them, because then the students become the teachers. And that's one of my favorite active learning strategies to use that I want to suggest to you, if you're not already using them, is to turn your students into the educators. Give them a topic and have them teach on it. I call them teach backs. You can call them anything you like. But even in team meetings, put people in small groups and then give them a task. Have them come into the group. So for example, one of the things is when I'm teaching on logical fallacies, I'll put people in groups and then each one gets assigned 2 fallacies. They've got to come up with a definition and an example that would be typical in the life of a college student. This way, number one, I'm not the one talking all the time, right? And in this, I kind of feel like I've been talking a little too much already here today, so I'm going to turn the mic over to you guys in a sec. It gets them talking, it gives you a break as an educator, and now they've got skin in the game. It's not passive, now it's active. And this is the big concept when it comes to active learning, right? They have to do things. They have to be involved in things. So I'm going to share with you. I created a Miro board. So far we have 1 of you have used it and 4 of you have not used it. Okay, so this will be pretty fun. I'm going to have you guys try Miro for the first time. Now, I just want to say I'm like a Miro beginner. I use it for in more basic ways, but I have friends like Saeed right next door who's quite skilled at Miro and even offers some free and free-ish workshops when it comes to Miro. So definitely if you like Miro and you want to check some stuff out, I want you to check his content out. But I am going to paste in the chat the link to a Miro board. So if you have the screen space and you can join us, pop into that Miro board. And I want to show you this activity that I set up, and then we're going to go into breakout rooms for just a few minutes for you guys to practice a few things, just so that you can see what it's like to do an active learning strategy and the way that I would set it up in my classroom as an example. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here as well. So you're seeing this. This is the Miro board. It's teacher quotes from movies and TV. So thinking about you all as my audience and knowing that you're a group of educators, trainers, and presenters, I pulled concepts from movies. And the scripts are all movies, lines that teachers have said, or they're from a TV series. So for example, in the movies section here, and if you get lost, if you've never been in Miro, just imagine this big board and you're able to zoom in and zoom out with the plus and minuses here. But if you stay with me with what I'm sharing here, we're in the movies section. The first one is from the movie Dead Poets Society from 1989, and it's got 2 quotes on here. So what I'd like you to do in your breakout rooms is to everybody pick however many of these you'd like to share, whether it's from the movies section or from the series section. Again, these are all quotes from educators, teachers, professors. And do your best in your breakout rooms to share your quotes using a powerful voice that matches the tone of the message. Right, so this is something I would do with my public speaking students or when I'm teaching about presentation skills, wanting them to practice voice modulation. So I'd like you to do the same thing today because we don't have time to cover vocal variety and voice modulation and all that today. And then I want to ask you, do you know either who the actor is or who the character that the actor played in this movie? Do any of you know either the actor in Dead Poet Society who said this? Carpe diem, seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary. No matter what anybody tells you, words and ideas can change the world. I feel like somebody, Lori, were you going to chime in to see who is that? Awesome. Thank you for unmuting. Yes. And so if we move the blue bar, does anybody know the character he played? Anybody remember the character he played? Haven't watched it, Said? Oh man, you got to watch it. I think it's so good. Yep. So somebody just moved the blue box. If you move the blue box, it reveals to you who the actor is and who the character was that they were playing. So this is like a little bit of a surprise, which I want to tell you works really well in activities, is like revealing that little surprise. So I'm just going to pop the blue box back. But you see how you drag and drop the blue box. You shouldn't be able to move anything else because I've locked everything else. But you are able to move this blue box here. And you can also come over to your menus on the side. And there are stickers, emojis, and GIFs. So you can pop in things anywhere on the board that you like for some fun too. So what I'm going to do is invite you guys to pop into... We're going to do 3 different breakout rooms. Is anybody not able to participate in a breakout room right now? Okay, Matthias, so then you'll just stay in here with me. Don't accept the invitation to pop into the breakout room. But for everybody else, pop into a breakout room. Again, the tasks here are to grab a sticky, share it, take turns sharing them, and seeing if anybody can guess or knows who the actor is or the character that those actors were playing in that by moving the blue box afterwards. So that's it. All right, so we're gonna do that for 7 minutes. So I'm gonna pop everybody into breakout rooms for 7 minutes. Any questions or is anything unclear about the instructions? I'm gonna open up those breakout rooms, gonna pop them in for 7 minutes. Okay, the rooms are open. You guys should be able to move into them. Let me know if anybody needs me to move them. The idea with doing things like this is that, number one, when you're the presenter, you need to catch your own breath sometimes, right? You need a moment. So activities where your participants get to go and do something is not only fun for them, not only has that active learning element because now they're participating, but you also get a chance to take a sip of water and just breathe out for a second and get yourself ready for the next section. Marion, I see your message in the chat. No problem, no pressure. I totally understand. So you can feel free to stay in here with me. Listen, I'm glad that you're here and I appreciate that you're here. This is excellent. I'm glad you guys were all able to come in and at least listen. So if you can put in the chat, what are some of your favorite active learning strategies whenever people are involved up on their feet or doing something or participating? Doesn't have to be physical, right? It can also just be some other things. But what are some of the tools that you love to use in your own classes or in your activities? And I'd love to hear what are some of the ways that you create active learning strategies in your classes. And while you guys do that, what I'll do is showcase some of the ways, some of the tools that I'm using to engage my students. So, for example, when it's time to take a break in a virtual class, I've got a screen that plays. And I'll change so that visually on screen, they can see when the time is. It keeps us in sync. And I switch up the graphics depending on the group, the color scheme, the branding, whatever types of things need to happen. You know, sometimes it's even something as small as a little tiny message on screen, or, you know, if it's a bright and sunny thing. There's a lesson that I teach on conquering virtual stage fright. And so I have us discuss heroes and villains, heroes that we grew up with, and then the villains from those stories. So I'll use AI tools to create those concepts that I can show on screen. So then there's no copyright issues because I've generated them with AI. And then, you know, I'll go through and we talk about the villains concepts, just all these different ways to visually show interest and appeal whenever I'm navigating the content in my classes. Also having little graphics and music that play on screen. So for visual and auditory stimulus, I think those things are very helpful, and they can a little harder to incorporate in space, but as long as you have the technology available and the speakers, depending on the size of the room, if you have a microphone system set up, then you'll be able to also provide audio and video inputs for people when they're in an in-person environment. So Marion, what do you teach and where are you teaching? Oh, beautiful. First of all, are you watching the Olympics? Because I know they're being hosted in Paris right now. No, okay, all right. I caught a few. I had physical therapy this morning, and somebody the facility had it on, and I was like watching some of it. But to your point about PowerPoint, there's nothing wrong with that. The thing is that at this point in our lives, we are all very much used to it. So when you show up in the classrooms and you've got something else to offer, then that's now different. Just like when PowerPoint first came out, that was different. That was exciting. And there are great ways to use it now too. But it can't be our default tool anymore, in my opinion. I think that that is no longer engaging, but certainly there are ways to do it that are still interesting and appealing, and I can even show you some of the ways that I do it. But okay, we have our participants are going to be coming back from their breakout rooms soon. So, and then Matthias, I know you're saying you teach nonverbal communication, ooh, and emotional intelligence. Those are some of my favorite topics. I love that. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that that was a good time for you. So maybe if you hated that, maybe you could keep it to yourself. But if you liked it, would anybody like to share? I mean, my hope is that you got to meet some cool new people, that you interacted a bit. And again, it was low pressure, right? It was just like this movie, taking a guess. You didn't have to do anything crazy. What was the experience like for you guys? Would you like to share from the student perspective? What do you think, Saeed? That's great. So there was even some level of connection. Fabulous. Mark. Great point, which I appreciate, because that's a great note for me as an educator to remember, okay, if I'm going to, and I had you guys answer yes or no, have you ever used Miro before? Many of you had not. So I should have in that moment, and this could be my takeaway for the future, I need to build in a little more time for Miro, or if Miro is going to be regular, I can ask that question in advance. Hey, how many of you have worked with Miro before? Perhaps, like, let's say you guys were all in a class with me. I could send a little quick, here's how to video, or allow some playtime just for familiarity with the tool. So that's a great takeaway for all of us, Mark, because whenever we're teaching a tool that we're familiar with, we forget what it's like to be a beginner. And we don't offer enough time for that orientation part, just to learn the tool. But it does give you some like a on fire training for what the tool is like and how you might be able to use it. Because I know Google Jamboard is a great free whiteboard tool that's going away, that will no longer be offered. So Miro is a great supercharged alternative to it, and they do offer free accounts to educators. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that if you are an educator, just look up like Miro for educators, and then you'll have to just prove you're an educator, and send it from your school address, and they'll be able to do that. But it's a powerful tool that I'm just like scratching the surface of myself. Right? For me, it's like mostly stickies and things, but there's a lot of fun things that you can do with it. So thanks for that input, Mark. Hopefully you can see how like you can set up anything, and I picked teacher movies and TV shows because this is for educators, right? So just tailoring it to the audience. If you wherever you teach, like you can do trivia about your school. Like I'll do a section, I'll do an interactive tool where it's like Rutgers trivia. So the Rutgers University students, things that they just have no idea about the school. Or if it's an organization, the history of that organization. All kinds of fun trivia questions that you can do would be another great learning tool. I mean, and I have hundreds and thousands of ideas, and I know if we pulled them all together, you guys would probably all have hundreds and thousands of ideas yourself. So I want to ask you guys to participate with me one more time in the chat. And this is through the Stream Alive tool. What kinds of things do we do besides, let's document the ones we mentioned too, for example, maybe like moving too fast or not allowing enough time for familiarity with the tool, but put in the Zoom chat, what kinds of things do we do as educators that disengage students? So the opposite of engage, what kind of things we do that disengages? Yes, right, we offer monologues, for sure. Talking too much, yes, Diana Lisa, that's so true. Or too long, says Coach Lori. Yes, Marion agrees with you, talking too much. Sometimes talking over their heads. Yeah, I hear you. Right, Erica. And again, part of the learning process is like when we're unconsciously competent, like when we've gotten to that higher level and we're unconsciously competent, we forget what it's like to be not yet competent in that particular thing. That becomes frustrating. Oh man, I like this. Wait, why am I talking? I'm going to steal that, Saeed. That's very good. Okay. Nice. Let me ask you now, what's one thing that you can do to change your content and make it more active and memorable? What's one thing, just one, because again, we can't do a bajillion things at once, right? So just from today. Oh, I'm loving all the love. That's very nice. I'll take some of that love. Thank you. Oh, that's love for Saeed's weight comments. I got it. Sorry, that was not for me. That was for Saeed. Okay, Saeed, that's your love. I don't want to steal your love. So what's just one thing? I know we can do many, but just thinking like, what's one thing that you can do differently? Lori, you can use more sound effects. So providing some more audio input, exploring music and sound. Yes, adding their names on screen as a shout out for sure. We can definitely do that. Popping, and there are tools like Ecamm. There are tools that allow you to, OBS allows you to put people's comments on screen. Social Stream Ninja is another one. Writing, yes, Mark, I've been getting a lot into that lately. And offering breaks for sure. 100%. Those are great. Yes, providing that reward for people to have a dopamine rush. Yes, we need that. We all need that. Very good. So I want to share one formula too, because I think that it's quite powerful. This is one more concept from Dr. Carmen Simon, the last concept of the day when we think about the science of memorability. And her concept is this. We have attention, right? So we have to get people's attention, right? Kickoff activity, greeting people, using their names, having some music, having a weight screen, planning something fun. Attention plus memory, so they can't forget us because we're offering stimulus, we're engaging with them emotionally, we're hitting on their pain points. Plus decision, okay, equals action. We don't control if a student or a team member listens to us or not, what they decide to do with that. So we really can't factor that in. But if we can get their attention, help them remember the content, well, then they can make a decision that will ultimately lead to them taking some form of great action. So in addition to the concepts we talked about, my 10% message is that you remember the 10% message, to create one, right? That you not only remember that this is a thing, but that you remember to highlight your 10% message, that you remember about habituation, specifically about adding rewards in there for our students and our team members, and that you remember, while we can't control what anybody does or doesn't do, we do have a significant amount of influence over their attention and their memory by being engaging. And active learning is the way to do that. And the possibilities are endless. So using tools like Miro, audio, video, using names, even something as simple as having people change their name in Zoom to their performer name, to do something fun. So that's what I'd like us to end on. It's 12:30. We're going to end right in just a few seconds. But in Zoom, rename yourself to whatever you'd like your performer name to be. So if you were going to be famous, it could be an entertainer name, a performer name. No one has ever told me that they can't come up with something. But go ahead in Zoom and just change your name to whatever you want your entertainer, performer, rapper, DJ name to be. And you can right click on the 3 dots above your camera icon to do that. I'm putting mine up. Okay, we have Daredevil in the house. I'm T-Rock Smooth. MC Squared is Saeed. Very nice. DJ Bounce with me. Love that. Very cool. And this is one of those tasks that you can always ask ChatGPT to help you with. You know, you can say, help me come up with a great entertainer name to use for fun. So even these little things, the more we can put in the reward of a smile, even for myself, like I don't know what names you guys are going to pick. So even just the reward of like ooh, what's everybody going to come up with? And then we have discipline, get you what you want. Nice, nice. So that's even got like a lyrical part to it. And then we have the edutainer. Yes, indeed. Edutainment is a real thing, right? So it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be small. It doesn't even always have to be digital. You know, sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, there's a little something. There's a little something I want to show you on the screen, and it helps humanize the environment and the experiences for us. So I sincerely hope that today has been helpful for you. At least one thing that you can take away and apply to your educational journey immediately. And I do want to tell you that starting next Monday, I am running the Adjunct Professor Academy for educators. It's Monday through Friday of next week Eastern time, same time as today, starting at 11:30, but it goes until 2 o'clock, and we will definitely have breaks. But we're going to talk about process, preparation, visual appeal, a check-in day, a doing day, and then a practice day where you actually get to deliver and practice your live session. So we're going to go into depth with active learning. Today was just a little bit of a taste test. Tech tools, having teaching confidence, visual design, and creating a sense of community and belonging, which I feel are my strengths when it comes to education. So here, if you want to grab a screenshot, here's like all of the things that you can connect with me on. There's my website. There's signing up for the Adjunct Professor Academy. There's signing up for my newsletter, which all of you who registered or have already done that. But the green one, I'm also giving away a free seat to the Adjunct Professor Academy. And if you're interested in the production software that I use today, it's called Ecamm. Again, it is only for Mac, but if you would like to have a conversation about that, I also have a discount code. And then for Stream Alive, I have an affiliate discount code as well, which is the participation tool that we used. And then if you want some graphics from Lucy Angelini at CNVS, she does have a free packet. And then if you decide you love all of them and want to get them, she has a paid package as well. So just sharing all my links with you. And for everybody who's here today, I will send a follow-up email with a huge discount code for the Adjunct Professor Academy. I'm so happy that you guys are able to be here today. Thank you. I appreciate those comments in the chat. And I have one last question for you guys, if you don't mind. Is there a tip that you have that you would want to share with your fellow educators? Do you have your own tip that you would want to share? Like, this is something that I want to pass on to the people in the group here. Like, here's a great tip for you to start to use. Any tips that we all want to share with each other? And then I can also attach this to the follow-up email that I send out to everybody who was here today to have fun. Yes. Yes, mic drop. That's awesome. Oh, you changed your name to mic drop. Cool. DJ Bounce has started a new practice, asking a question and opening with a story. Yes, I know. I love storytelling too. We're going to get into that in the academy. We don't have enough time for today, but absolutely. Jordana, you hit it right. That is 100% right. Teaching with your heart. Students, people know when you care and they know when you don't. That is simply a fact. Simply a fact. Keep moving forward. Love that. Smiling. Yes. I actually wonder how many times I smiled today. I know I definitely smiled when I saw your entertainer names. But yes, smiling is a great tool as well. And my last question, because I know you guys, everybody has to get going here, is, I've got some commenters. This is a Stream Alive gives us a count of engagement as well here. So Erica, you are our top commenter for the day. Congratulations. Very good. Love that. And do you guys have any ideas of what kind of things you would like me to do more free workshops like this in the future on, like 1 hour workshops of concepts and things that would be beneficial to you? If you have any ideas, feel free to drop them in the chat now. And if you need some time to think about that, then feel free to let me know on LinkedIn, or you can send me a message. I want to share my email with everybody here. And I'm also going to pop in my LinkedIn as well. So if any of you need to, oh yes, Erica, definitely. Yeah, I actually think Saeed and I can co-host a great Miro workshop together. So Erica, that can definitely be one. Thank you. Great suggestion. Awesome. Glad DJ Bounce is coming too. Thank you. Jordana. Love that. Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today, everyone. We did go a few minutes over time, so I apologize for that. But we're going to stay in touch because now, we are connected. So if you want to drop your links in the chat too, do that now. And it will be in the follow-up email to everybody. Stream Alive does this really nice thing where any links shared in the chat get collected into a little library that I can share out as well. So if you want to, of course, if you don't want to, you don't need to do this at all. But if you have a website or your LinkedIn profile or other social media where you would like people here to connect with you at, then go ahead and put that in the chat and I'll be definitely pass along that information. But in the meantime, it's like I always say, keep learning, inspiring, and teaching with love, because like Jordan said, that's when people really know, right? When they know that you care, that's when we really make a difference. So thank you for spending some time with me. Again, this is just content free for you from my heart, and I hope that it's been valuable. I have had a great time being with you guys today, and please invite me when you have things going on. Thank you so much, guys. I hope to see you again in another session in the future. Have a great week, everybody.